Everyone. This is MoneyPigTrading. Today is November 29, 2020. So today we're going to talk about why Chinese electric vehicle, or abbreviated as EV names are going crazy, and what about the price action of NIO, General Motor, Tesla, and Solo. So to begin with, MoneyPigTrading is not a registered financial advisor. So this is just our own opinions. Please make sure you invest at your own risk. If you don't have time to go through the whole video, we're just going to recap, provide some conclusion right here. So we do think the Chinese EV name could short-term pull back a little bit. There are several factors that going to determine their short, mid, and long-term price action on NIO, XPEV, and Li. We're going to provide those breakdown and details. For General Motor, we do things extremely bullish. They have a very strong EV product lines coming up in 2022, 2023. We do think GM now becomes a growth stock in 2022, 2023. We should see $100 a share. Tesla right now, at least in our humble opinion, is overvalued, but no one wants to sell it. So if they can continue this corporate strategy, the vertical integration between battery and EVs, and provide even stronger sales records, we do think in late 2021, early 2022, Tesla, we should see $1,000 a share. For Solo, it is really highly controversial. I know Citron Research mentioned it could drop to $2. On the technical chart, we do think Solo deserves a pullback. This company has a lot of mixed information that in 2019, I remember it's May, we're going to mention more details later. They do mention they're going to produce 5,000 cars in China, but more than a year later, they still only have produced 6 cars so far. And I think October, November this year, they mentioned they're going to start the sales in China again. So I think there's a lot of mixed information. Their earning reports. I think investors should be very careful on this name. But in the short term, we think there's a pullback. But in the longer term, if they really can prove that they have sales records, great sales record in China, I do think this name has some potentials. So let's go to the next slides. So just in case you haven't watched the market closely, here's just breakdown charts of the Chinese EV names and the names we're going to cover. So you can see the Chinese EV name NIO, Li, XPEV, and this Candy, KNDI. It's also a Chinese EV name, but now their focus is more in US, and they actually just started to sell their cars in US. I think now in Texas, and they're coming to California as well. So you can see their price action lately just crazy. NIO went up like 2,500% in their low earlier this year from $2 and all the way to $54. Tesla's been sideways consolidation for a few months until it is included into SP 500. When the news came out, Tesla went crazy. Solo has a hyperbolic move, and right now it's a hyperbolic drop, like I mentioned. We're going to go through more details. And other charging name, Blink is going crazy as well, and now it's a little pullback. Workhorse is a US EV name. The price action lately is a little choppy, but right now it's in the option channel. So because of all this crazy, EV names move, MoneyPigTrading is making really good money. We don't really have a strong, belief on each side. We purely play by the price actions and what the data provides us. So just some selected day trading, like we just hitting NIO calls, and we buy NIO put when Citron was shorting it that day, make some good money as well on November 13. The week of Tesla saying they are going to be including SP 500, we'll also day trade Tesla that week and make really decent money, like 440%. And Solo on the upside will also make some good money in the week of November 24. We also have some swing trading program, and swing trading we actually hold NIO, Li, and Nikola. Nikola lately has, I think by December 3rd, GM has to decide whether they're going to provide a partnership agreement with Nikola. As mentioned in Twitter, we do think GM has no loss to sign this, OTM manufacturer partnership with Nikola. Because there's no loss for GM, as long as Nikola can produce, prototypes, GM will just, be happy to manufacture for Nikola. And GM will own 11% of Nikola's shares. And now Nikola has a new management, so that's why Nikola has been pushing up from the low, from I think $18 to $31, and we successfully captured this move and make decent amount of money. And now it's just a question whether December 3rd GM will, really sign that deal or not. So we'll, pay attention to it. So yeah, if you like our works or our research, please give us a follow on our YouTube, Twitter, or Instagram, so MoneyPigTrading, or visit our website to check our pay plan for our Discord real-time trading alerts. So yeah, let's go to the topic. Why the Chinese EV names going so crazy, right? So actually, what happened is on October 24, 2020, Shanghai passed a law to prevent Shanghai license cars to enter downtown Shanghai during weekdays, which sounds pretty crazy, right? Starting on May 1st, 2021, if you really want to drive your Shanghai license car into downtown Shanghai after May 1st, you have two options. The first option is you have to buy a Shanghai license, which costs you about $14,000, which is really expensive, right? Imagine if you live in New York and you want to go to New York downtown, you need a license plate that costs you $14,000. If that's not crazy enough, only 13.2% of the bidders eventually got a Shanghai license in the September 2020, the monthly license plate bidding event. So it's, even though you have money, $14,000, right, at hand, you want the Shanghai license plate, you can get it. Only 13.2% of the people eventually get it in September. And some people wait for years to get the license plate. So the process is just very expensive and painful. So the Chinese government actually provide the second solution is, okay, if you buy the EV, it will come with a green license plate. And with the green license plate, you are allowed to drive into Shanghai downtown after May 1st, 2021. So however, this a point you have to be careful is, as an investor, right? Like the buy EV and get a green license plate policy will expire on December 31st, 2020. So this crazy EV sales record, in Li, NIO, XPEV, and Tesla might not extend over December 31st. After December 31st, it can actually pull back a little bit, cool down. But in the long run, we do think the mainland Chinese EV market will still be booming and probably the biggest EV market in the world, starting like 2021 and in the future. But there's a rumor in mainland Chinese society right now is the Shanghai government actually might extend this buy EV and get green license plate in 2022. If we get this confirmation before the end of this year, I do think a lot of people will postpone their EV purchase, and that can just pull down a lot of the sale records in the short term. But again, like we said, the long-term demand we still think is pretty strong. You might be curious, like, why Shanghai City has this crazy policy, right? Like, why you don't allow your citizens to drive into Shanghai downtown? The reason is very simple. There are 24 million people in Shanghai, and not to mention, during rush hour, all the people driving from the satellite city into Shanghai. Like, imagine all the traffics, and there's just no place, no more room to build like wider highway to accommodate even more and more traffic and growth in Shanghai. So that's right. They are putting more and more this kind of crazy policy to prevent people from driving to Shanghai. So the other thing we have to look at is, right now they have this green license plate to stop, a Shanghai license to come into Shanghai City. But what if, this green license plate grow into a certain stage, right? Like a lot of people converting EV, now they have a green license plate. They can still come into Shanghai downtown, paralyze the Shanghai traffic. Then, we can expect maybe 2021, 2022, the Shanghai city government is going to do more restriction on green license plates. So just a lot of factors here and there to affect this, EV sales record in the biggest city in mainland China. So just look at how many more EV demands in Shanghai, right? So there are about 4 million cars in Shanghai. That's based on the 2019 Shanghai City DMV data. Right now, back to 2019, there are about 1.7 million Shanghai licensed cars. So if we do a little math, there's still about 2.3. So there are about 1.7 million potential cars that can convert into EV. Right now, we're waiting for the November China auto sale data, which possibly will be released around December 8th, December 9th, or December 10th. We'll publish some updates once we get that data. Most likely in Twitter. Maybe we'll follow up a video on YouTube as well. And of course, we'll update to our members in our Discord. And the next question we have to ask is whether there will be more EV-friendly policy in mainland China. We think the answer is yes. So currently, this EV-only policy not only being implemented in Shanghai, but also it has already been implemented in Beijing for, I think, a year or two. And it's actually even stricter than Shanghai. Also, there's a nearby city of Shanghai called Hangzhou also apply this rule. And is it possible that this EV only policy, like if you don't have an EV car, we don't encourage you to drive into, the downtown areas? We think the answer is yes. There are many other major cities haven't implemented this rule and very possibly will implement this rule in 2021 or in the future. And why the mainland Chinese government really want to promote EV? We think the two reasons behind it is first, they want to improve the air quality. As you probably see on the news, there are a lot of air quality issues in China because of their economic growth. They have a lot of heavy industries, right? Heavy industrial activities. And now they have so many traffics with gas vehicles. If we can, they can convert them, a lot of them into EVs that potentially will, improve the air quality quite a bit. The other key factors, I think, is more on the national strategy for mainland China is by moving away from the transmission technology, which is only exists in gas cars, because the EV doesn't require any transmission at all. And all this transmission technology has a high technology barrier, and they are all controlled and by Japan, Germany, and US. So by converting the Chinese, auto market into EV, they don't have to focus. I mean, the Chinese auto producers can build some transmission, but not as reliable, at least in my humble opinion, than those Japanese, German, and US providers. So by converting the market into EV, they can actually, just move away from the transmission technology and just purely focus on EV and build the leading, auto brand in the world like NIO, Li and XPEV. So let's take a look at NIO. It's a total drama this year, right? What happened is NIO was actually on my top of my shortened list where, I have a list called vulture list to see which company will bankrupt. And NIO was at some point at the beginning of, or early this year, is definitely on top of the list. It run out of money, lay off a bunch of people in their America office, North America office. The sale record really cannot break through. Everything just looks so doomed, And then in June, I think 28, Tencent said, you know what, we're going to throw a couple hundreds of millions of dollars in you. And then NIO, started to come back up to around $15. Sideways consolidation for a little while. I was a little, suspicious about this name. Like, okay, what is next? And then we see a next jump. I was still like, what's going on? And then before the Shanghai release that, EV news, the China EV, the locals in Shanghai actually got the rumors already. The EV sales record started to pick up, and then NIO started to jump back up. And the real transition point is, like I mentioned, the Shanghai city government mentioned that policy on October 28th, and that's the time that NIO really started to take off from around $26 to the 57 all-time high, which is like about 100% move. It's really hard to capture NIO at this range because it just really looked like it's going to bankrupt, right? But yeah, if some people trade like very aggressively, capture on this trend, yeah, this is amazing profits. I think most of the trends we actually capture is like around this area starting from October. And still make a decent amount of money. So what is next about NIO? So we have witnessed institutes keep US, financial institutes like Goldman Sachs, a lot of mutual funds, ETFs, they just keep buying NIO calls options compared to Li and XPEV. The data is actually getting from our partner, FlowAlgo. So if you're interested in using FlowAlgo, we're actually partnered with FlowAlgo, so we're going to provide our referral link. I think if you use our referral link, the first 3 weeks is only like 20 or $25. If you'd like to learn more details, feel free to click on the link and check more details. And actually provide a lot of real-time option and stock flow from the institute, which is really helpful for momentum and your day trading activities and also swing trading activities. For long-term investors, I think that's also very helpful because you can know like how the institutes are positioning their positions. However, we cannot guarantee their data accuracy. So yeah, just make sure you agree with the terms and again, invest at your own risk. And also Dutch banks think NIO actually has the highest sentiment on the internet because they actually look into the biggest auto e-commerce website, and NIO has the most bullish sentiment on that particular e-commerce website. So I think that's one of the reasons like the institute are actually buying more NIO call options compared to other Chinese EV names. I think if we break down this October 2020 delivery number provided by the Chinese Auto Committee, you can see actually among the three NIO, Li, and XPEV, NIO actually provides the best delivery number, 5,000, compared to Li and XPEV, especially consider NIO's auto prices the most expensive, even more expensive than Model 3. NIO's car is about 55,000. Model 3 is about, if I remember correctly, $36,000 or $38,000 in China. While Li and XPEV are relatively cheaper, especially XPEV, I recall it's about $18,000. Don't quote me if I'm wrong. So NIO can deliver this number. Definitely is very impressive, and I think that's why the institutes are still buying NIO at this price range. And also the other bullish factor is NIO will, or they plan to enter the European market in 2021. Their competitor XPEV Xiaopeng actually entered the Norway market, I think October this year, sometime this year. So that's definitely a 2021 bullish factor for NIO. We'll have to keep watching. On the downside, I do think NIO has some problems. First of all, NIO car is really overpriced, at least that's my humble opinion. Like I mentioned, the NIO EC6 is about $55,000, while Model 3 is only $36,000, right? So NIO is actually anchoring their brand image as a luxury car. And I do think they are promoting like, NIO is the leading brand, EV brand in the world. Buying NIO is like supporting, the society. And also, if you buy NIO, such an expensive car, you have a Shanghai license plate, and if you drive that car back to your hometown in China, your family will just feel very proud, like, oh, my son or my daughter is very successful, right? Like he or she can afford this expensive car, expensive license. He or she must be doing really well in Shanghai. So there's actually definitely a luxury and this price image and factor behind this brand. The other concern for me and for NIO is they actually provide really good service, and actually price into their EV price as well. Is they actually provide a really good like battery service. There's some kind of warranty, like if your battery wears off, like we are going to replace for free. Don't quote me if I'm wrong, or XYZ dollars. But in my humble opinion, this battery service like is a money hole. Like it's going to make their expenses so high on their balance sheet, but it's definitely there also another sell point. So just the pros and cons. People are buying into it, some people don't buy into it. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I think it's way too early for the NIO. NIO is still in this early EV journey, so there's just a lot of this controversial points. We'll probably need to wait for the next earning report to see how this NIO battery service, whether it's really helping NIO sales or is actually eating NIO up, right? The other news that I don't see being broadly broadcast is a National Development and Reform Commission in mainland China actually ordered to monitor NIO, Li, and XPEV stock price on November 25th, 2020. And that's why one day before Thanksgiving, Li, XPEV, the prices are actually dropping. Because, on their perspective, the mainland Chinese government perspective, any financial or stock price go up too quickly will create a bubble. And all they want is the society to be stable. So they don't want to see, yes, they encourage those EV names to grow, but they don't want to see this kind of crazy move, like up like 2,500% in 6 months, right? And they don't want the bubble to burst, people lose their money. So that's why they might actually push some policy. We'll have to closely monitor on this news, just like what they do on Baba and JD. They release an antitrust news, and you see how much Baba was pulled down from like 320 or 310 per share all the way back to almost like 255 per share, right? So whether we're going to see this same price action on the downside to NIO or Li or XPEV because of the mainland Chinese government policy, we have to watch it. And if you're holding a lot of NIO, Li, XPEV, that's another thing you should closely watch it as well. I think NIO right now is a battle between hope and fear. What it means is a lot of, like I said, institutes are keep buying NIO, like buying their calls, buying their call options and their stock, because they think, oh gosh, this is like next Tesla. We don't want to miss it, right? On the other hand, I think everyone knows this move is crazy. Like I said, 2,500%, guys, in the time frame of 5 or 6 months. So everyone's afraid of pullback, and that's one of the reasons I'm mostly doing day trading on NIO these days. I don't want to hold like 5 or 6 digits worth of NIO, either options or stocks, like overnight at this point, at least for now. Like, I mean, if you really pull back, break the 4-day EMA support or even this 8-day EMA support on the daily, like $40, yeah, I will feel more comfortable with the low more. But right now, because of all these factors, I'm just kind of like speculating and watch and see what is next. If we see unusual option activities, we might add some more calls on the day trading. But I mean, for now, we're just mostly empty-handed and watch and enjoy the profits that we have taken. What about Tesla? Right now, our opinion is no one wants to sell it, even though it's overvalued. So we actually provided to our members about the SP 500 inclusion and what's the price action of that SP 500 inclusion can make on Tesla. Before I think it's going to be included into SP 500. Don't quote me if I'm wrong. December 18th, on top of my head. I think that's a Tuesday. Yeah, so that's definitely interesting to watch around mid-December what will happen to Tesla. However, doing some fundamental analysis on Tesla. So one really good thing about Tesla benefit from the Shanghai, license policy is they actually sold about 12,000 Model 3 in October 2020 in mainland China. And the data is from the Chinese Association of Automobile Manufacturers, CPCA. That's about 7% increase, which is pretty decent. And we do think in the next month, November, China auto sale report, we should see more Model 3 sale because of the reason we mentioned above. And so far, based on our in-house model, we do think Tesla has a chance to deliver about 180,000 vehicles worldwide in the Q4 2020. And possibly it could meet its 500,000 EV delivery guidance in 2020. That delivery report should be announced in January 3rd, 2020. So that's definitely something we should keep an eye on. And if they do meet the guidance of 500K EV delivery annual goals, I think that will be a really crazily bullish factor. But we do see there are some possible potential outbreak, in mainland China. If that happens, that can actually slow down the EV sales. So that's the other factors we have to closely monitoring. So far, it seems like COVID has been controlled pretty well in mainland China, but we do see some isolated cases in major cities. So yeah, just need to keep an eye on the mainland Chinese news. If, based on the current trajectory, our Moneypig in-house model does see some, probably 50-60% of the chances that Tesla could reach 700 or 100,000 EV deliveries in 2021. But the reason we actually only provide the possibility of 50-60% is because there are just too many factors that can affect that numbers, right? Like how COVID is going to, whether it will be contained or not, that's really a big factor. Right now, EU is almost completely shut down. that will definitely affect the Tesla sale. But we think that China, if can control COVID pretty well, their EV market is going to boom in 2021 and going to be the biggest market in the world. And if Tesla, and we are actually witnessing it, is Tesla EV sale in China is picking up, and that can largely offset the sales decrease, Tesla sales decrease in North America and in Europe. So yeah, that's why we're pretty optimistic about the delivery numbers in 2021 for Tesla. And if they can really maintain 700 and 800K deliveries in annually worldwide, we do think Tesla could reach 1 million EV deliveries by 2022 and become the real EV leaders in the world. On the contrary, actually, General Motors, I think last week, their CEO mentioned in the conference they set the guidance of 1 million EV deliveries by 2025. If that's the case, if Tesla really deliver 1 million cars like by 2022, that means GM is kind of 2 to 3 years behind Tesla, right? So, but we're gonna cover GM. We think is a high potential, especially on the stock price. And the other thing, based on our partner FlowAlgo's data, we do see institutes are still buying Tesla like crazy. This week, on the week of November 23rd, we see financial institutes, ETFs, funds, they actually loaned $79 million worth of Tesla call options. This is insane, guys. Like even Tesla is almost at $600 right now. They're still loaning Tesla. We are seeing like 700 calls, expire in the next few weeks, just unstop, right? One of the ETFs really likes called ARKK. Tesla is actually their largest holding. They're still holding most of their Tesla shares. I think 2 to 3 weeks ago, don't quote me if I'm wrong, they actually sell 0.5% of their Tesla holding. But now the Tesla is still waiting about 10.95% of their whole portfolio. So that's what I mean. Everyone thinks it's overvalued, but everyone's still buying it, and nobody wants to sell it. So I think we're in a market that's pretty weird. Like valuation doesn't care anymore in a way, like names like Tesla. And also, I think Federal Reserve is really pushing the market by providing so much money. And during this 10 years of bull market, everyone just has so much money in their retirement account. Funds has a huge amount of cash, right? Like people can just keep pushing on those names like Tesla, even though, at least in my opinion, is overvalued. So we're still thinking Tesla is bullish based on this price action. And of course, I think Tesla is not an auto name anymore. I think it's more like a tech name. It has a vertical integration between the battery service and their EV, solutions. And I think that's why people are so bullish on it as well, right? So the next target, we think in the short term, Tesla can break 600 psychological level. 607 is the next. And based on the Fibonacci extension on the weekly and daily, we do have the price level on 657. And if we can really continue this momentum, of course, probably after the next delivery report, or there's some EV names news cooling down in China, we can see some pullback or cycle consolidation for Tesla. But we do think, in the long run, we can see like $1,000 share if this momentum can continue in late 2021 or early 2022. General Motors, a name we really like is Awakened Giant. So U.S. investors may or may not aware of is right now the best-selling electric vehicle car in mainland China is this we call Wuling. And it's actually a joint venture between the three manufacturers, SAIC, GM, and Wuling. So this car is amazing, I have to say. It's small, it has 3 doors, it has a hatchback, and you can see how small it is. But guys, it has 110 miles, range. And it's only $5,000 to $6,000 per car, especially if you buy the low, price model that they even take out the air conditioning is as low as $5,000. I think this car also show like how bad the world, poverty gap is. Like while some people can afford $55,000 car NIO, some people really cannot afford that much, but they still need to commute to Shanghai downtown, right? They need to work, but they can afford the housing price in Shanghai, so they have to live far in the suburb and they have to commute into the downtown, and public transportation is not that convenient. They need a car. That's why this car become the best selling car in China, because this poverty gap not only in China but also worldwide, right? And this car has been selling like crazy in 2 to 3 months, and we do think this car is going to continue to be the best seller in mainland China. And the good thing about GM is they actually own 44% of the shares for this joint venture. So that's one of the reasons we think GM is going to be awakened and is going to capture the EV sales numbers from Tesla. And GM also announced their luxury Hummer EV that's coming up in 2021. The pictures actually getting from GM.com is fully electric. It's amazing, and it has an amazing range, 350 to 400 miles range after you fully charge a battery, and it only takes 10 minutes to charge 100 miles worth of the battery, and it only takes about 40 minutes to fully charge the car. This is amazing. And it has a full capacity of autonomous driving, which is listed on their website, 1,000 horsepower, with a super strong lift. And look at, they even have this amazing function called crab walk. This is amazing, right? I know it's a very expensive EV. They're pricing it as, if I remember correctly, 110,000. So it's more like a luxury EV. But that does mean now GM is shifting its gears into EV, and they actually have planned to release 20 more new EV models by 2023. So pretty much all their product lines, all their brands, are going to have all different kinds of price range of EVs for customers to choose. And they also have a really strong tech company called Cruise Automation, which I visited their headquarters, I think, earlier this year. It's really amazing. A lot of young engineers capable of working those machine learning, C++ codes, 3,000 engineer working as a startup, fully dedicated on autonomous driving. And it's a really energetic company. When I visit, I really like it. It's not like your old-fashioned, auto manufacturer. It has an, open office and, free lunch, like company provided lunch, etc. It's like really amazing. And they also announced, I think 4 weeks ago, they actually partnered with Walmart for their self-driving deliveries. And currently, they have received Cruise Automation, which is owned by GM, by the way. They have received a permit from California DMV to remove human backup drivers. So we see a lot of cars in San Francisco street. A lot of them actually are not require human backup drivers, and I think they're testing their autonomous driving deliveries. I think in Arizona, I think. So which is pretty amazing. And also they have a next generation battery which can boost the range to 400 miles, which they're going to put on this Hummer EV, and it's 60% less costs. Right now, still early development for this new type of revolutionary battery. If they really can mass produce it as they provided in their guidance, I do think that will make GM, really, really competitive, because all their cars are going to, equipped with this newly developed battery with a really nice range, a really short charging time frame, and 60% less cost, meaning they can, lower their EV costs a lot and maybe be able to compete with Tesla quite a bit. So because of this reason, I think 2022 Moneypig does expect GM to hit $70 target, and 2023 possibly, if they can keep this, production like they promised and start to have a lot of sale volume picking up. We Moneypig do think $100 in 2023 is quite possible. And GM used to be, a value stock. People usually hold it just for its dividend. I used to hold GM for quite a long time for its dividend, and closely before the COVID, and now it dropped back, and now GM started retransforming itself. One thing we have to notice is GM did file bankruptcy back to 2008, and the new GM share now, it was like a value stock, like I mentioned. So it's kind of like, it won't go up, it won't go down, just like people are just holding it for dividends. But now I think the sentiment for GM is very different. Now it's not distributing in dividends, and the price is moving like a growth stock. So definitely keep worth watching for General Motor. The next name we're going to cover is Solo. Be aware at this price level. So I know some people don't like Citron. They actually tweeted on November 20th. They said solo target is $2 because they only have under $6 million of research and development less than 12 months. And they only deliver 6 cars in 2 years. And now the price is so overvalued, trading at $1 billion market cap. And at some point it was at $14. So yeah, let's break down some research and see if what they claim is true. So this is from the solo earning report. I think released in October. Correct me if I'm wrong. So let's look at their research and development expenses. We do see in 2019 they actually spent about $6.8 million. It's definitely a red flag that they actually have only $5.5 million R&D expenses this year, even lower than last year. Usually for ambitious EV company like Solo or Tesla, we do see more and more R&D expenses instead of decreasing. Not to mention this absolute value is pretty small, so it's definitely a red flag. And also, kind of do some digging on the Solo website, and you can actually find the news back to 2019. They actually mentioned they want to deliver 5,000 Solo EVs from their manufacturer partner in Chongqing, Shanghai, called Zhongsheng, in 2019. So it's like, okay, that's interesting. I remember seeing the news in 2019. But what happened to that 5,000 cars? So this is from the Solo earning report, I think released, like I said, October this year for the Q3 earning report. I do see some really red flag sentences that I just highlight. They say we have very limited experience servicing our vehicles. The total number of production of Solos we have produced at September 30th, 2020 is 6. So I think what Citron Research said is right. They decrease their R&D expenses. They also only produce 6 cars so far. And one thing I looked through their earning report, one thing I got really confused is they actually signed this manufacturer agreement with Zhongsheng back to October 2017. And they were supposed to deliver 75,000 Solo vehicles in 3-4 years, right? So today is November 29, so that means 2020. This agreement should have expired, and apparently Zhongsheng violated this agreement. So instead of producing 75,000 Solo vehicles, they only actually produced 6 cars. So, and there's another interesting sentence here: is Zhongsheng is not if Zhongsheng is not able to fulfill their obligation, we will not be able to produce or sell our Solo vehicle in the volumes anticipated at the timetable, right? So I think those are very interesting factors that investor has to be aware of if you want to buy Solo share at this price point. There are just a lot of interesting facts in their earning reports. And as you can see, Solo actually had a really crazy run back to July, and we did day trading, make some money of it, and actually pull back. And we do think in this parabolic move, Solo can actually pull back, and right now it's holding this red line for the EMA support. On the downside, we do think it has $7, $6, and $4.79 support on the daily chart. It's really hard to predict what's going to happen next for Solo. I mean, if they really can, deliver their promise to start selling EVs in China in 2021, we can see, the price start to push back up. But if you do some more diggings on their earning reports, you'll be really, feel suspicious about holding their shares. At least that's my opinion at this price level, right? I might become more bullish again if it actually pull back more. And then I will do some. I do plan some, speculator, maybe call options just to bet like, okay, they might actually pick up some sales volume in China maybe in 2021, but definitely not at this price point. I think the other thing we have to be careful is, this parabolic move usually come with a parabolic down. I think right now just a lot of retails being, crazily supporting it. This name doesn't really have a lot of institutes, holding the positions. So I might actually feel more comfortable, start to long again once the price pull back and see some more institute coming and to buy this name. And also, like I mentioned above, like this company actually has a lot of promise, right? Like back to 2008, 2019, like we are going to start the sales in China, in US, right? Sorry, not in US, but in China, but it really didn't happen based on their timetable. But now they're coming back and say they're going to start the sale in China, and now they say they're established sale points in California, etc. So we just have to monitor whether they will go through or not. I mean, if we turn bullish again with all this news or fundamental factors, definitely will be bull again. But right now, I think just be careful at this price level because we, in our humble opinion, at least is overvalued. Yeah, thanks everyone for listening. And yeah, if you have any question, feel free to leave a comment on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and leave some comments there. And thanks for joining us. Thank you.